That's it. Oh, all right, everybody. Hello, this is Vaughan Liddicoat, and I'm here today with Essential Needs CEO, and I'm proud to say my good friend Rez Haremi. How are you today, Rez?
Yes, very well. Thank you, everyone. Hello, everyone.
And where are you coming to from us in the world today?
Sydney.
All right, awesome. I'm down here in Canberra, and for anyone else out there watching this, either in the replay or live, feel free to let us know where you're from. And by the end of this Facebook Live today, I'm so, I suppose, grateful to be able to bring to your awareness this really important need of understanding how water poverty is affecting the world on a massive global scale, and what you can do to directly contribute to helping to end water poverty for good. It's a massive goal. It's a huge philanthropic endeavor. It's something that, when I first met Rez, really he really opened my eyes, but helped me understand the nature of poverty. And there's actually, like, I know it sounds bad, but there's like a hierarchy of poverty in the sense of how it all affects each other. One cause is not necessarily more vital than the other, but what I really connected with you about, Rez, was the fact that that if we could tune in to understanding the impact water poverty had on the world, and if we could deal with that solution, how it would actually trickle and ripple through the other forms of poverty and make a real lasting impact. So can you share with us some of the things about water poverty that people may not know about, and what you found to be waking people up?
Yeah, sure. So I can share a bit of my journey so that it makes more sense. So I want to start contributing. I have a business, it's an online shopping site, and then wanted to make that a not-for-profit and make it in a way that once people shop, they would contribute to a cause as well. So I started looking around, what are the causes that are extremely important, because there's just so many problems on the planet.
Yeah.
And there's so many problems in each country. So now we are living in a developed country. So, and if we don't travel outside of Australia, we can see there's a lot of problems internally. But then if we come with the notion of one human life equals one human life, and the equality is there, then we look into the basic needs of people, the first one of which is air. So it takes about three minutes not to breathe, and then we'll perish. Then it's water. It takes about 3 days. And then it's food, which is about 3 weeks, right? Now, so in Australia, worldwide, there's air, some polluted more than others, but there is air. Now in Australia, there's access to clean water for pretty much everyone. Even the most impoverished Aboriginal families in the Northern Territory, they still have access to clean water, that's the great news. So then we look in to see if every other human has that sort of access, and I found that there is no such thing. There's about 1 out of 10 people that don't have access. Now, the 1 out of 10 that don't have access, they not only they don't have access, they walk about anywhere between 2 to 6 hours per day to fetch dirty water. So they bring it back home, and then the little ones, which are not immune to it, they drink it, and then some of them don't make it. They die before the age of 5. And that itself means that they get stuck in the cycle of the same task, which is every single day going fetching dirty water, which means that they don't have the luxury of doing any other task which is important to grow. So there's no growth in the family in that sense. So they get stuck in that cycle of poverty. And their best chance of survival is, as a family, is to maximize on the number of children for that family. So if we get stuck in that cycle, our best chance to survive is to have as many as children as possible. So then I found that the root cause of overpopulation is actually in the impoverished areas, in the poorest areas on the planet, and it's due to that fact. So it's a double the disaster. Not only they are dying, they're they must also multiply as many as possible as they can in their family in order to survive. And then it's like, okay, what would I do? And so I started studying and looking and going into the same mind frame and so on. I'd be doing the same thing. Anyone would be doing the same thing. That's why whoever is stuck in that cycle is doing the same thing.
So it's like a survival tactic, right? So it's how they manage to keep the families going, and they're not really thinking about really anything else but basic survival, right?
Yeah, they don't have the luxury to think about anything else but basic survival.
Yeah.
Their life cycle goes around survival.
That's what really stuck out to me, because I was sitting here thinking, I love entrepreneurship, I love business, I'd love to go into a country and give back. I think most people in their heart of hearts want to be givers and want to help other people, even if we have our own struggles and challenges. And I remember thinking, I'd love to go into a country and teach entrepreneurship. Surely entrepreneurship will fix the problems, right? Because everyone will go out and create solutions. But then you said, well, no, not really, because if you're thirsty, that's all you're going to think about fixing is getting water. And then if you get that solved, then if you're hungry, you're going to think only about food. And I was like, that's true. That relates to Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of human needs. We won't think about, self-actualization at the top and love and relationships until we have, very basic needs taken care of. And at that point, we will care and give a shit about the other things. And I went, oh man, that's awesome. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, you will not guess it unless you actually seek. It's a tricky one, that one. So entrepreneurship is extremely important, because the solutions comes out of entrepreneurship. So that's a topic that cannot be devalued. But at the same time, the entrepreneurship would have to be around solutions in order to bring clean water.
That's true.
That's the most basic need. And there's many solutions. There's around 14 solutions right now. There's desalination. Desalination is a very luxury one. It's the only rich countries that can afford it. But there's water purification. There's the well or borehole programs. There's the rain catchment programs, and so on and so forth. And that's connecting entrepreneurship to the solution. The solutions seem to be there. It doesn't seem that there's going to be much more solutions than that. There can be, surely, but right now the challenge is how to distribute those solutions that there are in those areas that they need it. Because one thing that is happening right now is that problem is not on a priority list for the developed countries. You see, so that problem is not even on the priority list for those impacted countries, because people which do get stuck in that cycle of poverty, they need a lot of help. So if you and I are going to help, we need to have a free hand to help. So everyone is struggling in life to basically to make life better for themselves, for their family, and so on. So we're all very busy and engaged, which makes it very difficult for everyone. So then that becomes more of a less priority to look at or to solve, because it's like, okay, the problem is there. It's not impacting me or my family. Therefore, I'll put it at the end of the priority queue or somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, so, well, that's true. Sure, most people are caught up in their day-to-day lives, and I think that's why, as I think this movement of entrepreneurship and business takes off in Australia, that becoming a conscious business and becoming one that can use the already established lines of servicing clients as a vehicle for helping directly with causes like yours. And that's actually how we partnered up, was trying to bring together this, personally, I was, had this domain, Mission for Millions, and I was looking for a way to connect that to something. So for 2 years I was sitting there, but I wasn't doing anything. And so I was like, big help I was. And so, and then all of a sudden, one day having a cider break at WeWork, I meet you and we talk for like an hour, and then it's like my whole world illuminated. And that's hopefully what I'm helping people do today, is understand that you can definitely do something about it, even if it's not setting up a charity, setting up a foundation, going over and volunteering your time overseas. You can directly contribute now. So can you talk a little bit about how Essential Need functions, what you actually do, some of the questions people generally ask you, and maybe some of the skepticism they may give you as well?
Sure. So the way Essential Need, before, I would like to say it in this way. We got to see what the problem is and what the solution is, right? And then we have to design systems in line with the solution. So Essential Need is basically the most efficient or effective way in order to come up with the solution. The solution is twofold. One is that there needs funding and lump sum of it. So the cost of, so we have to look at what the problem is and what its cost is. The problem is it impacts 1 out of 10 people on Earth, which is around 700 million people.
Really, so
1
out of 10, massive.
That's massive, yeah. So the good thing is that when you look at 1 out of 10, that means the 9 can help 10 to come out of poverty, which is very achievable. So if we have 10 people and 1 is in trouble, the 9 can help. That's a good thing, because in that scenario, it's very achievable. But how do we structure a system that gives the opportunity to the 9 in order to help the 1? Because that seems to be no proper system there. And there needs to be entrepreneurship in that part, and the Essential Need is one. So the cost for solving the problem itself seems to be anywhere between 30 to 40 billion dollars. So when you look at it like that, you go, okay, that's a problem that it can be solved, with 30 to 40 billion dollars. Now, why I'm a bit loose about the numbers is because the cost is different in each area. Somewhere the cost of resources could be higher, somewhere could be lower, and so on and so forth, and labor and so on. So then you look and see, okay, there's so many different charities that are in this sector. Why does this problem still exist? Why? Well, there's so many different complex reasons. The first one that comes into everybody's head is mismanagement of funds, is fraud, is things that devalues the good work of these charities that they're doing. A lot of charities are doing good work. They're doing great work. Of course, like any other corporation, company, business, they can become more effective, more efficient, more productive, and so on. That's just how, the task management and time management and so on and so forth work. But everybody goes to work, everyone does their part, and that's the clock is ticking there. So it wouldn't be fair to devalue the good work that they do. But what is going on is they're always fighting for funding from governments or raising donations from the public or from the corporate or the business world. And that's always a burden, because the thing is, when a charity is trying to raise funds, that task itself, it doesn't help the field. It doesn't help the impoverished areas, because there's teams that need to get paid like everybody else. They have bills. These are normal people like you and I. They got bills and they got families. They need to get paid. Therefore, they go to their work, they do their work, and the work that they do is not on the field, is actually here to raise funds. So they get crucified for having admin costs. Without the admin, without these people, there will be no funds raised, there will be no impact. So that's a big misunderstanding and misconception on the public part, which I had as well, because I wasn't educated on it through school and through university. No one told me how the not-for-profit or the charity world works. So there's lack of funding. Now, the majority of the funding is coming from governments of developed countries. They have foreign aid budgets. So our DFAT department has foreign aid budget, which they contribute to different problems with different locations on the planet. And those budgets basically are not meeting the needs, right? That's on that side. Now, the reason the budgets are not meeting the needs are multifold. One of them is that if a politician that is being elected due to the votes of people says, let's do this, let's get a big chunk of the foreign aid budget and let's shift it into that direction, then they fear that they will be criticized for that because it was not allowed by the people that voted them in, which means that they need the consent of their voters, of the people that they represent, that would give them that power in order to direct those funds to those channels. Right. So, for example, here is like if you and I have a representative to go represent us about this topic over there, we expect them to get our blessing or a yes from us if they're going to commit to something. So that's a fair call. That's a fair call. Now, we've been talking to members of the parliament, and that's what they're saying. They say, we'd love to help, but it is the taxpayers' money that has to be shifted to whichever direction. Therefore, they need to consent that that's the problem they want solved. They want to see solved. That's fair call. Okay, so how do we do that? Say, well, bring in consents or bring in votes, like a petition type or any type that just we know that they want, so that if we direct the funds, we're not going to be criticized for it. We don't want to be doing good and being criticized. It's not fair. That's a fair call again. So now the discussion has been around this, that the problem is 700 million people problem, and there's 1.4 billion people living in the developed countries, which means if you look by pure mathematical chance, the ratio is 2 to 1. It means for every 2 people that live in a developed country, there's 1 that's suffering not having access to clean water. Which means that if the 2 from each developed country can fund 1 person, let's call that person the victim, to escape out of that situation and get access to clean water, then we have a beautiful formula. Because the other one is that, let's say, if Australia starts funding towards the problem and the other developed countries don't, it's not fair on us, is it? Because it's not just our problem, it's everybody's problem.
It's a global problem.
It's a global, the overpopulation part, there's a humanitarian part and there's a global problem part. The global problem part, which is overpopulation, because with overpopulation, we have refugees, we have global warming, yes. We have deforestation, we have mass species extinctions, we have about another 15 to 20 other major problems. It's like, guys, this is massive. This can actually kill every one of us. Right now, we're 7.5 billion, and about 4 billion people is going to be added in the next, 40 to 60, 70 years.
Yeah. So the question is, how does essential need, like in a quick, direct manner, how does essential need operate? So money comes in through through Mission for Millions or through a donation, and then what happens to that money and how does it directly impact?
Sure. Okay. So what we've done is we have a 50-50 model. Once money comes in, 50% is allocated to advancing education through our ambassador program. The ambassador program is for high school students, for university students, and for whoever else that wants to get involved. It's open to them as well. It's got 5 different levels. Those levels takes them through how to educate their own circles about this problem and how to get their votes, how to get them on this mission. Because we need 1 million votes in Australia, and once we get the 1 million, we'll most likely, very, very high chance that DFAT will approve the funding according to the plan that I was saying. We have the portion of the pie that we have to cover out of the 700 million people. So we have to cover 12 million people for funding to have access to clean water, which the ratio is 2-to-1. So we got 24 million people living here, and half of that is 12 million people. And the cost of that is around $600 million. Now, the $600 million is not a big figure at all, because the foreign aid budget is anywhere between $1 to $4 billion per year. And this is a slow release. So we need to solve this. The UN has put a due date to end this issue, which is 2030. So the funds would have to be released from now till 2030 with stages in order to create access to clean water for everyone. So 50% of the funds goes towards towards the ambassador program, which is the public education, and the other 50% towards. Oh, good. Hello.
Ladies and gentlemen, my wife.
Ah, great. Can I have one of those too, please?
This is perfect.
It is. Now I'm jealous.
I know you are. Everyone else is. They're like, bring me my milkshake.
Okay, so the other 50% goes to
Shock the
doing
crap
the
out
water
of me,
projects on the field.
So the other 50% goes to the water projects, and that's what people want to know. Like, so facts and stats aside, like they just want to look, dude. If I give you $1, what's going to happen to it? 50% goes to the program, 50% goes to on the field, right? But how do they know? How do they know it does?
How do they know it does? Okay,
Yeah.
so the way it happens is twofold. One would be through the reports that they will be emailed. It seems like around over 90% are happy to pay and not be emailed because they're just too busy in life. They don't want another email.
Yeah.
Right? Now, the email is going to come if they want it to.
I'm sure people can relate to that.
Yeah. There's just so much information around that, you have to be very picky because you have limited time to what you want to read. So
Sure.
I would say that the best is to read a report once and make sure that that organization, whoever that organization is the one that you want to support. And then once you have it, the second time you don't need to read the report. But it'd be a bit naive to start donating towards a program or any program through any charity and just donate without knowing anything about the program. So education is knowledge is very important of how the funds are being spent. So one is that, and the other one is through the yearly financial reports that every charity must provide to the Australian government, which that's the public record. So there's the ACNC, Australian Charities and Not-for-Profit Commission website that approves every charity, and every charity needs to provide their report, and that's a public information that goes on the ACNC website.
But how do they know that?
That's how you would.
But what I'm asking is, like, because this is the concern I had at the beginning was, okay, so give you the money, like what then? How do I know it goes there? But most importantly, what impact does that give? So what does Essential Need effectively do to end, to work towards that goal of ending water poverty?
Okay, sure. So we've got metrics. We've got impact metrics. So
Impact metrics,
yes. Currently, for each 5 cents, that funds 1 day of clean water or more. Because we look at the overall cost of a project, we look at the number of people that will be impacted by the project. So, for example, a well is good for anywhere between 20 to 40 years, and it can contribute to about 500 people at 20 liters per day. Right. So we've got these metrics. We came up with the easiest way to understand impact, and that is a day of clean water for one person. So
Perfect. That's a good way to
everyone
measure it.
can. Yeah, that's the easiest way to measure it. That's one. And so that's the 50% of the funds that's allocated to that. And the other one, which is the impact, is by knowing each person how many people have voted due to them spreading the education, which we call it a care network. So, for example, I've got 100 people in my care network, say. That means I have told people about this problem, 100 of them, and not all of them have to be in Australia. It could be, it is a global issue. It can be anywhere on the planet. And then you can see that in my care network, there's 100 people there. And each one of those people carries a massive advantage towards the cause, because as mentioned before, 1 million Australian votes will equate to 12 million people impacted. So the ratio is 1 to 12. So in this scenario, if you look at it, the voice is a lot more powerful than the dollar.
Absolutely.
In this model, right?
That's awesome.
So if people can't afford it, they can at least give their voice and tell others to give their voice, and they've done their part.
Yeah,
and if
cool.
they can't afford it, then I think it's really good idea to support the extreme water poverty cause.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, for those out there who maybe run their own business, let me explain what I've done to be able to contribute to this, because I get it if you're busy and you're already focused on your own mission. But I definitely believe that the future of humanity, the consciousness of people is changing, right? Like, so, you know, in the agricultural age, it was highly unlikely that you would think about even traveling across the country. You wouldn't even think about getting in a boat and going overseas. There was just no collective consciousness to think bigger than farming, right? That was all you did. You'd farm, survive the winter, hopefully, and you'd make it to another year. There was no real bigger thinking. And then fast forward to now, and we look at our smart devices and, you know, the future of AR, virtual reality, and holographic technology, and all driverless cars, right? All of these massive things, like the lid is being lifted off our mind, and we're starting to think bigger, and consciousness is starting to shift. Now, I believe in business, that's happening in a big way. No more is it just about, you know, underpaying people and working them like slaves for 16 hours or 20 hours in a factory until they die. You know, that was the industrial model. It's not, it's moving away from just pure profit in the sense of, okay, now we've got to minimize our costs and make the most profit the quickest way we can, which is a big sort of corporate model and probably 80s, 90s sort of business model. It's moving into, all right, how are we going to make an impact with our business using products and services that benefit the world? So the products themselves are made from renewable sources. They're not going to detract from the environment, and they're going to also improve people's lives. But as we do that, how are we actually going to make a difference in the world on a bigger scale for people who don't actually buy our stuff? And so the way I see things going forward is, you know, compassion, empathy, intuition. These are going to be the real leadership traits. And for anyone watching this, that's you. And so what you can do is do what I've done, is you can connect your business model to res, to essential need, and be a contributor in that method, meaning that you focus on your skill set of building your business and making a difference, but instantly the sales that you generate can go towards a cause like this. So for example, we will donate a portion of sales to essential need to equal certain amounts of water days. And that allows us to not only bring awareness by marketing that fact, but it also makes us a social or conscious enterprise. And by blending that together, we start to make a difference. And we don't, you know, we can do it our way, because my skill set's building businesses, working with people. So, and Rez's skill set is not sleeping and building this entire charity as a solo mission, and with a big team, you know. so by focusing on what you're good at, you can still make a big impact. And I think that's really important for people to hear, because they get caught up in thinking, oh, but I don't have time to start a charity. I don't have time to go volunteer right now, you know, and that's fine. So focus on your skill set, connect it up, because I think that'll make a big difference.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. So that's my understanding is that there's two things that has brought humanity to the point that it is, and will flourish much more further. It's compassion and it's collaboration.
Oh, yeah.
Due to these two things that we have, we the rocking species. We are where we are right now. So at the point now, relating the things that you just mentioned in terms of business to causes, right now it's become so easy to connect a business to a cause, make it a conscious business, and then also market it as a conscious business. Why? Because me as a consumer, as a customer, when I go to, well, if I want to shop online or if I go to a cafe, it doesn't matter where I'm going to spend the money. I have decisions to make. Do I want to spend it in shop X or shop B? And if shop X and shop, I said X and B, very weird. Shop A and B, let's say.
That's right, man. You could say it any way you want. You're an entrepreneur.
So if shop A and B, both cafes, both got the same product, the price is the same, so there's no differentiator there. And if I see that shop A is conscious, so they're actually, by shopping from them, are making a difference in the world, well, that's a no-brainer. I just go, okay, that makes sense. I'm going to go there. I already like the way they think because they care. And I know that by spending this money, I'm doing something good on the side. So it makes me feel good in that scenario. So the future of business is conscious business. And we are through that shift. We are going there.
Absolutely.
Everybody, more and more people are understanding the importance of it. And also that you get back as well. You get back care and love from the customers. Whereas if you don't have that, it's lacking. It's so good to be a loved and cared for business rather than just provide services and that's it. That's very dry. So
absolutely.
In this scenario, and in this scenario, with this particular way of, with this particular model, which is first of its kind, is that people will be able to know if they spend, for example, $10, and if the business has committed to 1% giving out of the $10. So let's say that I'm a dry business. I want to become a conscious business through giving 1% of, but then I have to go look around. Who do I give that 1% to that maximizes impact? And then you will understand that this essential need model is the one with the maximized impact. Then for every $10, 1% of 10 is 10 cents, right? So that's 2 days of clean water. So if I'm going to spend $10 on a sandwich, and I know someone's going to get 2 days of clean water that is in extreme need, and also it helps stabilize the population globally, if I know that, why wouldn't I do it? So as a customer, right? Now, as a business as well, you know that you're doing something good as well. You're not just making money, surviving, and not contributing back. You know that you're doing something good. So it's extremely important that the businesses turn to conscious business, which is this is completely in line with the United Nations advice and recommendation as well. They're saying that not only we need that, go on.
No. You finish that thought. That was good.
Yep. So they said we can't achieve ending extreme poverty unless businesses get involved and become conscious businesses.
Yeah, and that's true because you always find that business, small business, entrepreneurialism is the backbone of countries, right? Like economy in Australia and America, that's the backbone. So it makes absolute sense. The biggest reach will come through mechanisms where businesses service a certain amount of a market, and that's why that's where you will definitely make a big impact.
Yeah. The challenge for businesses is this: who do I donate to maximize the impact? That's the challenge. donate to a cause and nothing's going to change. Still, some good will be done, but it won't be long term. And if it's not long term, then you're not really solving anything. If the problem is going to be coming back and back and back again, then that's not a solution. That's just prolonging the problem. So
it's
whatever,
Band-Aids. Just putting Band-Aids back on.
You just putting Band-Aids. Yeah. In this scenario, it would be prolonging death. If you're just, if you're giving someone water or food on a daily basis, but you don't have a structural solution behind it so that they become self-sustainable, then they become dependent on you, then you'll be in trouble as well. So whatever the solution that you're going to go for, it must be long-term and sustainable, or else not worth doing. And I think this is where it's so tricky for everyone, because as soon as you're a business person, you want to start contributing, and you look around, you have to go through so much research and understanding of world problems in order to come up with a worthy problem that the solution that's been offered by that organization is long-term and sustainable.
Yeah. Well,
that's what happened to me. It took me about 2 years to find out this. To find this out. The things that I'm saying, it took about 2 years to find out, and that was from 2000 and around 2012 to 2014. That's that period. I just, because I'm a businessman myself. It took me about 2 years to find out how can I integrate charity into the business model, and then I partnered with UNICEF, and UNICEF is doing a great job, but due to their mechanism and how they operate, they couldn't come up with that impact tracking so that the customers could connect to a tangible impact. And I told them, I said, what we need from you guys is a profile that connects that customer in a tangible way to the cause so that they can track that impact. And they said, sorry, it's not within our model. We can't do it. And there was the idea of the essential need that came out of that.
Yeah, and that's what's interesting is you'd think, oh, if anyone could do it, it would be the big players in the world. It's like, no, like any business, the people that are the slowest to make change and pivot are the big companies, right? Because it's just so big. There's so much red tape. And that's what really attracted me to you about this, is because you're growing fast, but you're able to implement ideas because of the way you think. Your engineering mind is able to see the end result now and what's missing, and it's actually quite exciting. So for anyone who wants to get connected to Rez, please check out essentialneed.org, right? And they can connect with him, become a conscious business. Definitely donate through the link missionformillions.org as well. And you'll go to any one of my websites, you'll be able to see an impact tracker on there, where as each donation goes through, the tally keeps going up. And for me, that's very exciting. It's exciting because you talk about customers loving you. The customers in my business love it. They clapped when I mentioned, how many days we've actually given as a result of them using a service of mine. And I wasn't expecting that. I was just like, we're up to 16,000 days at the time. And they were like, just started clapping. I was like, that's awesome, right? Like, I wasn't fishing for it. They just did, because they're like, wow, what we're doing is actually having an impact beyond my own little problems and what I'm doing in my own life. And so it's a wonderful way to not only promote your business, but to also be a conscious business and to position yourself in front of people as a leader, a philanthropist, and being able to make a real difference on the ground level, whilst just doing what you do on a day-to-day business, ongoing business. So now, Rez, I want to know, as we're about to wrap this up, what are some lasting thoughts that you want to share with people? Maybe give them a bit of inspiration, or help them understand that they can do something that although things might seem disproportionately massive, that things can change.
Yeah, sure. So I don't think it's the right mind frame to think of every single person that's impacted on the planet. I think it's the right mindset is how many lives can I touch, right? And so in your scenario, you mentioned that 16,000 water days. Now, for every 1,000 water days, it means that one person will be getting access to clean water, pretty much for life. So the calculation is like that. So if you have touched 16 lives, that is a humongous achievement. You don't have to touch millions or billions of lives. No, one life is already saving a universe of its own, because each life counts. So it's the matter of how many people can I touch, and that's not through this model. I think it's personal and business. It's both. It's like if you go to work today, how many people can I contribute to whatever services are or products are that I'm selling, in a way that they are touched. If you can touch people, then you will be touched. Now, in this scenario of it's this charity and it's actually needed for our own good. With this one, look at how many people you can touch. And each one day of clean water for one person in a sustainable way, it counts. It actually counts. So it's not how humongous the problem is, it's how many of those people you can touch.
That's a good reframe. We call that reframing, right? So rather than seeing the problem one way, you reframe it another way. And I love that. I think that resonates with a lot of people. Like I said, humanity's consciousness and thinking is absolutely shifting. People are becoming more aware of other people. A lot of people would like to believe that the world is going to hell in a handbasket really fast. But I tend to look on the other side of things. I really reframe that think it isn't. I think there is so much change happening, and it's happening fast in a good way. And it's because of people like you, Rez. So thank you for the work you're doing, for what Essential Needs doing, the partnership with Fair Action that's deploying, and all of the people that are supporting you on the back end, and the conscious businesses that are signing up. You're doing a wonderful job. And I really hope this message touches those who see it and know that you can actually do something. And this goes beyond just chucking $1 in a box to someone on the street who's harassing you as you're getting your coffee in the morning. So, you know, there's actually real things happening.
Yeah, I would like to add one thing on what you just mentioned about some people that think we're going towards the very negative, towards hell. I think the ones of us that is a solution are optimists, because we see that it's solvable. The ones that give up or they looking for an excuse not to get involved are the ones that seeing the world as going towards hell, because they can't see the solution. So they're actually a part of the problem.
Oh,
that mindset is a part of the problem.
Yes. Yeah, that's beautiful.
So you got to be a part of the solution, and then you will see the light. If you are the part of the problem, there's nothing but darkness.
Oh, that's awesome. That's perfect. Well, on that note, is there anything else you'd like to share with people? There's always so much information on this subject that you could talk about for ages, but is there anything else you'd like people to know or to hear from you before we finish?
Be a part of the solution in whatever you do in life. It doesn't matter what. Even if you talk to your spouse, your kid, whatever it is, be a part of the solution. That's it. I think that then we will achieve a lot better world, and that's how things will go forward.
Perfect. Well, Rez, awesome to have you, man. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks, Vaughan.
And yeah, no problem.
Lovely speaking with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And for anyone watching, head over to missionformillions.org, chuck a donation in. Would love to help, and watch the impact tracker go up. Rez, until we see each other again. Yeah. All right, we'll both be part of the solution.
My friend. Yeah, have a great